Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin O. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment Events, and I will welcome you to our program today, in which me and a special guest, we sit down and we have a conversation about an individual horror film. Now, this horror film can be from any different subgenre or decade, because we like to explore a little bit of everything here on the show, and that's the reason why you come back week after week, and we do appreciate that. That being said, we are actually tackling a really popular horror film today, and I'm really excited to not only talk about this film, but to also talk about this film with my special guest. And that special guest today is Miss Sarah Panazzo. I am glad that you are back on our show.
Me too, Kevin.
And for everyone out there, the film that we are discussing today is, of course, Ghostbusters from 1984. Now, I know all of you out there probably are huge fans of this, and there's probably a lot of stuff that we could talk bad about this film. Okay, I don't know if there's anything we can talk bad about this film, so we're going to have a lot of fun with this film today. So I hope that you will sit back, relax, and enjoy getting slimed through our conversation. So to start us off, Panazzo, I do want to get a little bit of background. When exactly did you see this film for the first time, and what were kind of your general impressions?
So, I do not know the first time I ever watched this. I was that young as a kid. Obviously, it was not in theaters. But let me put it this way. It wasn't until I did research this time on it that I realized that Stay Puft Marshmallows were not a thing, because ever since I have watched this movie, Stay Puft Marshmallows have been out for Ghostbusters as a branding thing. So, eye opener for me. But no, I've been watching this since I was a young kid. It really got me into everything spooky that I love now. And I mean, watching all of the SNL alums doing their best. This has been one of my favorite movies since I was a kid. So it's always been there.
So the interesting thing for me, I did see this. I did not see this at the theater when it came out. I did see it within a year of when it came out, because because I was a little kid, and I do remember my parents going and checking this movie out from the video store, mostly because I believe everyone in my family wanted to see this film. I do not remember ever having seen the trailer for this film before seeing the actual movie. I do remember this being a big family watching movie thing, and I knew who the stars were once they put it in, because I had seen Bill Murray in a shit ton of movies
Right.
before seeing this movie. So I was immediately thinking like it's going to be a funny movie because it has Bill Murray in it. But I do have to say that the opening sequence with the library ghost did scare me for a few moments as a kid when I first saw this movie.
Yes, her face was generally creepy, and I agree. I think that was the one thing that creeped me out. Otherwise, the rest of the movie was fantastic as a kid.
Yes, the rest of it, like this was like I probably watched this movie as a kid 100 times, way before part two ever came out. But I do remember when part two came out, I had the novelization, I had the sticker album, I had the comic book, I had all of that. By the time the second movie come out, I had seen this film so many times that I had to have everything Ghostbusters. Seen the cartoon a billion times, the real Ghostbusters, had the comic book, the real dude. I was obsessed with the Ghostbusters growing up. And it wasn't just this movie, but it was a cartoon, the real Ghostbusters. But I had seen the movie so often, and it became like a traditional thing for me that I'm still doing today. Like before this podcast, I still had seen the movie maybe a year and a half ago. Again, like I watch this film all the time. So it's always fun to talk about movies like this, because there's very few movies from the 80s that I still watch all the time.
Well, and you think about the impact this movie alone has had, let alone the multi-billion-dollar franchise that it has now, between, like you said, the cartoons, the comic books, the novelizations, all of the spin-off movies, all of the nerdy stuff. I mean, how many kids dressed up as a Ghostbuster with a vacuum on their back? I mean, it's been one of the biggest like cultural followings in our recent times. I mean, it's been huge since it came out. It was the number one film in US theaters for 7 consecutive weeks. And it's one of only four films to gross more than $100 million that year. Further theatrical releases increased the worldwide total gross to around 370 million, making it one of the most successful comedies of the 80s.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do not doubt any of that. Mostly because I never got to dress up in a Ghostbusters costume. I always wanted to when I was young, but I never did. I never did.
I didn't
But
either.
both of my sons have, and that was before they had ever seen the movie.
Oh my
My,
gosh.
my youngest son has never seen the movie. He has never seen the movie, yet he dressed up. He dressed up as, I think it was Peter Venkman. He has the Peter Venkman with the backpack on and everything, and he loves Slimer. He knows who Slimer is. He loves Slimer. And then so they saw the Afterlife first. We showed them the Afterlife, and when I talked up Slimer and my wife talked up Slimer, and they were wondering where the hell is Slimer at? Where's Slimer? Because Slimer's not in the Afterlife. But Slimer does. We ended up watching the original film because I was always thinking that one might be too scary for him. But they kind of when I was watching this for the podcast, they kind of snuck around the corner when I wasn't paying attention. And then after like 10 minutes, they were sitting down with me watching the movie. And now Ghostbusters is one of their favorites, and they have me now watching the real Ghostbusters with them now. My wife was a little skeptical. She said, oh, it's too scary for him. I said, well, he's watched Afterlife in the first one. We might as well watch the
Yeah.
second one now, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the greatest adult and kid friendly movies because as a kid, it's a fun thing, but all the implications that come with it watching as an adult is game changing. It's like watching Shrek and understanding all of the adult jokes that they put in there.
Yeah, yes, absolutely with Shrek. That is a perfect, great example. Yeah. So, yeah, I this film, one of the few, and the thing is, as much as I love Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson, this is the one film of Bill Murray's that I have watched a billion times. The other one being Scrooge, because that's my other favorite one. Groundhog Day is now up there too. But those are the three that I've watched of his the most, and I never get tired of them. And it's
Yeah.
not just because he's funny in the film. He is funny. They're all funny, but they're not like joke funny. It's because their characters are
Yes.
so endearing in this film. It's
I
much
mean, Rick Moranis, Sigourney Weaver, it's just brilliantly done.
yeah. And that's the thing is what's missing in some of the later sequels is the chemistry that all these actors have, because you would not expect Sigourney Weaver from Alien
No.
and Working Girl to have such great chemistry with Bill Murray in this original film.
Hell, even with Rick Moranis, I mean, it's and like you were saying, like before your kids even saw it, they knew who Slimer was. I mean, everybody knows who Slimer is. Stay Puff Marshmallow Man. Everyone knows who you gonna call. It it doesn't matter. It is everywhere. I still collect the Legos as they release them because I love this movie so much. And I mean, hell, Afterlife made me cry after Harold Ramis and everything else like that. Uh, but they're so much fun. They've got a lot of heart and they're just generally enjoyable all around.
Yeah, yeah. Um, except for that opening sequence, of course, that's a little dark. My sons didn't seem to mind the beginning of the film like I did in the '80s when I first saw it. That's probably because I've ruined their childhood with watching other movies. But they've also seen the cartoon too now, so there's a little bit of difference. I had to watch the cartoon after I'd seen the movie, so I yeah, with us in the '80s growing up, we had the movie and then we had to wait for the cartoon and everything else to come out. But with my kids, they watched Afterlife first, then watched the cartoon, and then they were already integrated into the society when I let them watch the first movie. And my wife was very skeptical about me letting them watch that because she thought it was too scary. So I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's not
Yeah.
because actually I think he's just a year or two younger than when I first saw this when this movie came out. So it's interesting. There's certain things about this film that you just, and the other thing I noticed about this film is probably why I watched it so much and why it didn't scare my son is that there's not really that many ghosts in this movie. There's not that.
No, they've got little things, but they're all done really funnily.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's really like super creepy until you get to Gozer himself. He is probably the creepiest part.
Yeah, Gozer probably is. I think at one point when the terror dogs are on Sigourney Weaver in the apartment, I think that may have scared my youngest a little bit. But then afterwards, they just thought Rick Moranis was funny, going around
Mhm.
when he's possessed, going around crazy. So it was very funny watching my kids react to this movie because at first, like I said, I didn't know they were snuck around the corner and were watching it as I was watching it. They don't do that too often. They don't do that too often, but something that always piques their mind, they'll stay, and then I'll notice them when I'm not writing notes on the movie. I'll notice them behind me. It's like, oh, you ain't supposed to be in here watching this. Go back in there, watch a cartoon or something. But yeah, and I kept asking him, "Is this too scary for you? Is this too scary?" Said, no, no, no. I was like, okay, you tell me when it's too scary for you.
Like I said, it's a great intro to horror for it's fun. You don't even have to necessarily say it's horror. I mean, it's a good family movie, but it's so funny you can forget it's a scary movie.
So that's an interesting thing to bring up because when I was growing up, I always considered this a horror film because of the ghost aspect and the Gozer and the terror dogs. But as I got older and people kept telling me, "Oh, it's the greatest comedy of the '80s," a comedy, I thought it was horror. And so when I'm watching it with my kids just recently, I started to see, okay, I see. I'm seeing it more as a comedy now, and because there's not many ghosts in it, and really the only scary moments is the very beginning and when Sigourney Weaver first gets taken by the terror dogs when they come out of the couch, and that's pretty much it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, why did I think this was a horror film when I was a kid? I don't, hindsight or something, because I never thought the second one was scary. There's nothing in the second movie
Yeah,
that I thought was scary.
most of them are not scary at all. I mean, there's little bits and pieces, but they're just too funny. And I
Uh,
mean, looking at everything else that these guys have written and directed, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You've got like Stripes, Kindergarten Cop, Twins, Meatballs. I mean,
Meatballs.
everything that Dan Aykroyd has done for SNL and everything else, because the guy just does not stop.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, him and Harold Ramis, like this script is beautiful. I know it was a lot of improv.
Was it?
'Cause yeah, because originally Aykroyd had written it right after Blues Brothers for him and John Belushi.
I do know that. Yeah, I do know that.
And after he passed, they were like, okay, well, he got Bill Murray attached. And then they were like, okay, well, we need to change this a bit so we can lessen the budget because it is way too much.
Yes.
And that's where Ramis came in, helped rewrite, and then was like, well, I want to be part of this too. And that's where they kind of got everything together.
I do know that there was like a really long, unfilmable script that Dan Aykroyd had originally
It
written.
had like time travel and a bunch of other crazy stuff. And I still wish that he would like release his
The script.
notes on it just so we could see it. Um, but like Slimer himself was based on a character John Belushi came up with. So it's like it makes perfect sense.
It does, and it's one of those rare things where I didn't know there was improv in them. I just know we went through a lot of rewrites because it does the comedy with Bill Murray in this one seems a little bit more refined than say Stripes.
Yes.
Um, and so I always thought this was more scripted than that, kind of like Groundhog Day. I can't see him improving as much for Groundhog Day, but it would be yeah, it'd be really interesting to know at least from that perspective, know the difference between the shooting script and what Bill Murray probably improv while doing this.
Well, and you can guess a lot of it. It's like watching Robin Williams in a movie thinking there's no way that's part of the script. I mean, like one of my favorite parts is when Bill Murray comes in and plays the two notes on the piano and he goes, "Yeah, you hear that? They hate this."
Yeah,
Like who would have thought of that and put it in a script? Nobody. That's something that you would walk on set one day and just decide to do because you're Bill fucking Murray.
because you're Bill. No, now that you put it in that perspective, you're absolutely right. That whole sequence when he goes to the David Barrett's apartment and not only tries to get with her and he puts himself in a good light, but also puts his whole ghost busting thing in a good light is actually quite hilarious.
But like a lot of the stuff they filmed too was done just like really hush hush under the radar. Like they would go and sit in front of one of the buildings in New York and start filming and then disappear before anybody could come over and kick them out.
Oh Jesus. I can You know what, that does add some and that's the other, that's one of the things I do want to talk about, and if I only skirt it a little bit now, I don't want to forget to talk about it, because one of the great things about this film and the second film especially, because I think it's missing in the third film, the spin-off film, Answer the Call, and in Afterlife, is the fact that in this film, especially, the city of New York is a character in this film. And it's
Yes.
that way because of all of the small scenes where you see different aspects of New York, and the fact that you think these characters are really a part of the city that they're trying to protect. And I really picked up on that this time rewatching. I was like, holy shit, this movie is actually pretty damn, like, New York is a character in
And
this.
see, every time I watch this, every time I do research, I get the chills. I end up bursting into tears because this movie means so much to me, and all of the like Afterlife, the honoring of Harold Ramis the way they did and everything else, and the fact that like this dumpy little fire station that meant nothing to anybody, fans put money together and got the actual Ghostbusters sign hanging up there in New York permanently
Oh,
because that location means so much to them. So it is now a staple of New York.
see, I didn't
And
know.
it's, like I said, it's such a huge part of our culture and everything else. And it means so much to so many people.
Yeah.
It's, it's just an incredible thing to experience. And especially, I'm so jealous you got to show your kids this.
It was an accident. And so I know my wife, when she listens to this, she'll say, I told you not to let those kids watch that movie. It's scary. And I'm like, it was an accident, honey. They just kind of snuck in the room while I was watching.
That's how I started. My dad used to watch X-Files and I would sneak downstairs and watch it behind him.
Jesus. So yeah, I was like, I tried, but they snuck in. Both of them, both little kids, just sneaking in there and sitting behind me on the floor watching Ghostbusters. And I finally look up from taking notes and say, "What are you guys doing in here?" Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I I'm always, as a parent, an older guy too. I'm always trying to figure out those movies that you can let your kids watch and not watch, because
Mhm.
my I don't want to be like my I love my parents at that. Don't get me wrong, but I watched a lot of horror films when I was really fucking young, and it has made me into loving horror as an adult. But I don't necessarily want my kids to be as crazy about horror as me. I don't want to ruin their childhoods too soon. So I do want to keep track of those type of horror movies that I do show them. You know, I mean, my youngest thought that when we saw the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon, some segments at the very end were a little too dark for him. And he's seen the cartoon. My youngest has seen the cartoons. They watched the movie cartoons, and they watched the series cartoons. But when they saw the live action version,
Yeah.
the
It's a
ending
little
sequence,
different.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little different. So I always wonder about that when I watch these films. So I was like, my wife says Ghostbusters is going to scare them, and they're over there watching it with me, and they're all talking about when we're going to watch the second one, Daddy. When we're going to watch. I did. You enjoyed it? You weren't scared? Yeah, they're clamoring for me to put the second one in now. But my wife was like, "That was too scary. Oh
Well,
no,
and so I think that's one of the best parts of this is there's no like life or death stakes that
no,
you get in a lot of other horror movies. Nobody's getting brutally murdered. It's all
no.
like ridiculous stuff like Slimer eating a bunch of food inside a ballroom, or there just being slime on
There's
everything.
just being you know what? You bring up a good point. That could be what I just never kind of thought about was that is the fact that no one ever dies in these movies.
Yeah. There's stakes, but there's no like life or death stakes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about to say I can't remember if anyone dies. I think someone maybe they don't die in Frozen Kingdom, the last one. Maybe they just freeze.
Yeah, I know that the newer ones they've gotten more into that kind of stuff and the darker
Yeah,
family-esque movies because everything has gotten more violent and everything else. But the original two,
yeah.
like perfect. I mean, hell, Dan Aykroyd dressed up in the second one, like creeped me out a little bit. And then I was like, oh no, it's that guy from Saturday Night Live.
That's that guy from Saturday Night Live. Jesus. Oh my God. So yeah, I mean that's one of the things I worry about, but I don't. They both enjoyed this one so much, and I'm hoping that it will become part of their culture because they both had their own of Ghostbuster costumes for Halloween. So they pick them out. We let them pick out their costumes, and they both picked them out themselves. So it's great to see that this movie it's still an endearing movie after what is it 84, so this is 40. Oh, Jesus,
Oh
40.
my God.
It's hard to believe that this movie is over 40 years old and it still holds up extremely well,
Hmm.
extremely well. And I which one of the movies had the little baby Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in it?
That was not the most recent one, but Afterlife.
Afterlife. So yeah, so they love
Little death machines. Oh
they
my God.
no, my sons love that one. They saw that was. I was like, I'm trying to figure out which one they had those in there, because they love the little bitty stay. They wanted one of those as a toy. I don't know if they made those as toys, buddy, but
Like I said when we started, I thought Stay Puft was a real marshmallow company because they've had marshmallows out every time they come out with a movie. I
I
mean, in the early 2000s, they came out with them again for something else. And
uh
I thought Stay Puft was a real thing.
I did not know that until later too, because I always thought the Slimer cooler that High C had was a regular flavor. That's it, but it's not. It was
Yeah.
something they put out when the movies came out and the show was popular, and then they brought it back out. I don't know if they brought it back out for the Answer the Call movie or
They have. It's the whole like retro vintage
yeah.
everything is they bring out all the original stuff again. I mean, like I said, I started collecting all the Lego sets again because they came out because I didn't get them the first time around that they came out with them. So now I've got I think two of the Ectos and I might have the tower. I can't remember.
That's kind of cool. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my kids, if I got those Legos, I might have to build it and then they destroy it within a day.
Yeah,
It,
because right now one of the original firehouses is going for $1,000 on eBay.
Jesus, it's about as bad as the Stranger Things Lego thing that shows
Hmm.
the upside down as well as the right side up part.
I
Uh,
managed to snag one of those.
did you really?
Yeah.
No, I'm curious. I saw it built in the Lego store. I saw it was fucking cool as shit to see it built. Did you build it?
No. I started collecting Legos at some point because I realized that they were more valuable than money because they only increase in price.
Yeah, they do only increase in price, which is the
And
scariest thing.
I started getting some of my more favorite ones or things that I wish I would have had when I was a kid, or there's
Mm,
still some that I could not bite the bullet on the dollars for because some of them are so expensive.
so expensive.
But like when Lego had their Lego Dimensions game out, I played the hell out of the Ghostbusters level of that, and just hearing the theme songs over and over again, I
Yeah.
love.
So I might have to look for those because my sons both love Legos and Ghostbusters now. So I keep yeah, we're still going through the cartoon. We're still going through the cartoon. But that's just part of the legacy of this original film. I mean, it's a timeless movie, to be honest with you. And it's one of those movies where it gets the suspense because it's in the comedy right for a horror comedy.
Yes.
It opens up with that big, the like we said, the library sequence, but then after that, we don't see many ghosts, but we see kind of like our favorite characters or the characters who will soon become our favorite characters getting slimed and having conversations about dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Like there's just certain things in this movie that that click with all of us as an audience, not just because they're funny, but because of the people who are saying them. Because even Ernie Hudson, doesn't show up for half the movie, which
Yes.
rarely ever happens when one of the main characters doesn't show up for half the movie, has great lines in that final act. When he tells everyone about telling the story about the Twinkie, when he's telling Bill Murray to tell him a story about the Twinkie, or even when he's addressing everyone with the mayor. There's just certain things that you in this movie that in this day and age is not possible to do again.
Yeah.
It's like, and they tried. No, I tried with the Answer the Call. I don't. Afterlife and Frozen Empire did not go this route of these original films. They weren't designed to be comedy
No.
horror, really. More like dramatic comedy. Or
They're very much the goosebumps
good point. Good
of
point.
all of them, where Ghostbusters, the original two, are more comedy. These ones have that little bit darker tinge to them
Mhm.
with the modern day ones. But I mean, even today, all of the effects, the puppets, everything holds up so well with these movies.
Yes, yeah. I do want to bring that to tackle some of that there, because you mentioned Gozer, and so do not laugh at me, people who are listening to this podcast, when I say this, because till the Gozer was in Afterlife, right? Afterlife. So I didn't know Gozer was a female from the first movie. I always thought Gozer was a male, but they say she's a female in this
So,
movie. But she could change genders. I know that.
yes. So, funny enough that you bring that up, I actually have a little bit for that.
Oh, good.
Um, where did it go in my
Because
notes?
for the life of me growing up, I always thought there's part of the dialogue I just wasn't paying attention to as a kid. Uh, when they mentioned that Gozer could take any form she wants to, but she's a she in this movie. Um, but it was made more readily apparent to my brain when I saw
Yeah, because
Afterlife.
so Gozer is the shape-shifting god of
Yes.
destruction. Um, where is the rest of it? Sorry, I cannot find it in my notes.
No, that's fine.
Originally, when they did Gozer, they envisioned a business suited architect, originally intended for Paul Rubens. And when he declined, they cast the actress for this one and they changed more to an androgynous look like
Yes.
David Bowie. And so that's where they got the whole shapeshifter thing where they could be whatever they wanted to be.
So that's how I saw it as a kid, as David Bowie during this Ziggy Stardust days.
Yes.
That's how I saw it, but they did mention that it was a she, the changer. And of course, when you see Afterlife, it's definitely a she version in that one. And that
Yeah.
had me thinking, fuck, did I get this thing wrong my entire life?
No,
Oh my God.
not at all.
So I'm like, oh yeah. When I watched Afterlife, I was like, oh fuck, dude, I must have this 40 years. I must have got some stuff wrong in my brain. It didn't matter. I still enjoyed the movie. Who cares? But I just want to point that out because that was something that I it just went over my head as a kid. Because Gozer isn't in the movie that much.
Yeah.
Um, and about one of the things when I go back and rewatched it recently for the podcast, I was like, oh, not really in it that much
Mm-mm.
at all. Like I kept growing up, thought I had thought that Gozer was in this movie more, but she's not. It's kind of like the Sam Hain character in the cartoon. You think Sam Hain is in a lot of episodes of that cartoon, but he really isn't. He's just one of the coolest villains they ever created for the cartoon, and he's not in a whole lot of them. So that's how I saw that. I was like, I had to bring that up because it's Gozer. So. Are you laughing at me like we brought up Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and
Oh, I
I
know.
as much as I love that character, that they battle at the end, I've never liked marshmallows, so that was kind of terrifying. That was the villain is like the thing I hate the most. Is the main monster, and of course at the end when they destroy the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, everybody's covered in
You
marshmallow.
never did the thing as a kid where you would make a s'mores and pretend like you were a Ghostbuster eating the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
No, I hate marshmallows. Now, my kids love marshmallows, and we recently did do that with them because they had seen the movie with the recent we had what is it? We had a cold front come through here. So everyone, before when you're listening to this podcast when it's released, this is long after the cold front that we had here in Georgia. When we had the cold front, and I had the marshmallow kit all ready for us all because we had the gas fireplace. We wanted it to be cold here. We wanted the power to go off. We had the gas fireplace on. We had the marshmallows and stuff out, and of course. My 7-year-old, mentions the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. We're eating the Stay Puft Marshmallow, and we all fell over laughing. Like that was not something we were expecting my little 7-year-old to say, but yeah, but no, I don't partake in marshmallows. I think that's the most next to cotton candy, the most disgusting thing ever created for human consumption. Those are the two things I don't touch: cotton candy, marshmallows. Sorry. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other ghosts that are in the film. Like we touched upon a little bit of Slimer. What did you like about Slimer or didn't like about Slimer?
I mean, as a kid, he's funny. As an adult, I can't think except for how gross the entire situation is. And I feel so bad for the woman who's supposed to be having the party in there afterwards. Um, but a lot of the ghosts you don't even really see. They just have like weird invisible things happening.
So I really enjoyed the montage when you see them doing all the different ghost busting things, and that's where I
Yes.
realized that that's pretty much where you see a lot of the ghost activity, but it's all different. It's all different types of hauntings that they are doing. But with Slimer, because he's their first real catch, I think that's one of the great things about having something that's so disgusting that when he slimes Peter Venkman, it just leaves an impression because Slimer's only in two scenes, that scene and the last
Mhm.
scene when he escapes. And it's just crazy that Slimer has become the what do you call it? The mascot,
Yes.
Ghostbusters. It's hilarious. And I will say this because this will make me a fucking really big geek from the days when there was the Ghostbuster comic book that Now Comics put out that was based on the real Ghostbusters. Because I was such a huge Slimer fan, I had a drawing that I did published in the comic book back in those days. Now, yeah, I know it's a geek thing. Everybody out there, they do that stuff with these comic books back in the day. And Slimer was like my favorite character in the movie, and I could draw back then. I won't say I could draw now. I've lost the touch. It's been 40 fucking years. I've lost the touch now, but back then I could draw. I was good. But it was fun doing. I must have did a thousand pictures of Slimer over the years and of Sam Hain and some of the other ghosts from the cartoon series. But the reason why I bring this up is because Slimer is itself is such a huge icon. And like I said, my kids knew who Slimer was before they saw either of the movie.
Hmm.
It's just crazy how much this film influences multiple generations without people ever having seen the movies. And so that's one of the things I want to bring up because I can't think of another movie like this where an icon like that has ever popped up and taken a whole generation by storm. And Slimer doesn't do anything other than slime people.
Right. It's not like he's the main character. It's
He's
not like it's Freddy or Jason or anything else. It's just some random side character that has exploded.
And when everyone mentions the library ghost, the first one you see. Library ghost and Slimer are two of the things that people remember the most out of this film.
Mhm.
I tend to like seeing a lot of the different stuff throughout both movies. The ghosts but they're not in it that much. They're not in it that
Oh,
much. The montage sequence where they're out capturing a lot of different ghosts, doing a lot of different things is really intricate or not intricate, but shit, I can't think of the word, but it shows audiences all the different stuff these Ghostbusters can do, and not just being a one trick pony as a catching ghosts like Slimer. So that when what's it, Peck shows up, I can't remember Peck's first name. Walter Peck, I think Walter Peck. When
I think
Walter Peck
so.
shows up, huh? Was that
I
it?
think so.
Yeah. So when Peck shows up and he does Walter Peck, played by the amazing William Atherton. Dude, I loved when he showed back up in Frozen Kingdom. I was like, oh shit, yeah, now. But always a great character actor, and he plays this role perfectly. But when I rewatched the film, I realized how really wrong Peter Venkman is to him. And that's the reason why he reacts the way he does. Like if he had just been nice, I don't think William Peck would have reacted nearly as bad. And I never noticed that until I rewatched it because I just always took him as because he's William Atherton.
Yeah.
That's the dick. Between Real Genius and the Die Hard movies, you only see him as this one type of character.
Well, and that was the thing is he said that he hated it because he got typecast after this movie, and that's why he ended up with all those roles.
Yeah, but they're great movies. They're great movies. Die Hard is like a staple of Christmas watching movies. Ghostbusters defines like 40 years of cinematic love comedy horror. Real Genius is one of the few undisputed great comedies that people just don't talk about enough. I fucking love that movie. But yeah, I love Walter Peck in this film because he makes for a really good antagonist. A human antagonist. I
Mhm.
think that's what lacks in a lot of the subsequent sequels. We don't have a human type of antagonist like him. And I think having just a ghost, like just having Gozer, wasn't really enough for me. Having him there is a good foil for the Ghostbusters. And that's why I think this one holds up so damn well, is because they have both of those aspects contained within this one film. So
Yeah, because, in real life, if this really were to happen, you 100% would have somebody like that who's like, you guys are full of shit. This isn't real. I'm totally going to flip this lever and release everything.
well, he's with the So the thing is, when I was rewatching this, he's with the EPA. So of course he's thinking that what the hell are you guys doing with this? You guys have to be doing some type of shit that's doing something wrong to the environment. I
As a
yell
kid, I had no idea what the EPA is. As an
at
adult, I'm like, man, he had some really good points.
Well, that's the thing is, as a kid, I didn't know what the fucking EPA was either. I, as when I was rewatching the movie, I was realizing, oh shit, Environmental Protection Agency. Oh yeah, he has a really good job there, and he doesn't want these shenanigans happening and destroying the environment. Well, that doesn't make him really that bad of a guy. He actually is doing a really good job at what he does. So I couldn't fault him too much when I rewatched the movie. I was like, maybe Peter Venkman should have been nicer, just a little bit. But yeah, yeah. Uh, he's not too bad of a guy, other than the fact that he starts, when the mayor brings them all in. But Peter Venkman has the line, "Yes, this man has no dick." Penis. I can't remember exactly the words, but that's good enough for
There's
me.
there's so many good lines
So
from
many
this
good
movie
lines.
in general. I mean, like we said, the stereotypical who you gonna call Ghostbusters, but constantly I will just randomly go, I am the gatekeeper. And I'm like, I don't even know why I did that today.
Uh,
but
because they're ingrained in us because we've seen the movie so many times and it still holds up. It's most of the time when we're doing stuff like that, as us geeks do sometimes and nerds, we reference the cult movies, the films that maybe us and one or two other people might get the reference to. But when we do that with this film, everybody gets the references that we're making. And that's what makes us feel good inside. Is like, oh yeah, everyone picks up on it. So yeah, so no, you can do that all you like. Everybody's gonna get the reference. It's gonna be hilarious and great every time we do it. Because I do it all the time too. And I know I do it to obscure movies because my wife be looking at me. The hell you just say? You saying some weird shit to get over there, honey? Stop saying that weird. Oh no, it's from a movie, honey. You just wouldn't understand. And then she wants to slap me. Stop referencing those weird films that you watch. But if I said this movie, oh yeah, she's seen all the Ghostbusters. We've seen those together at the theater. She still loves them all, and this is not just a film I've sat down and watched with my two young kids, but it's the one film series that me and my wife actually have gone to the theater to see. Like my wife does not watch a lot of horror movies. I think on the program on the show, I've mentioned that pretty much she sticks to vampire films and Scream movies, and that's what we go to the movies to go see. It's hard for me to get her to go see something else. But we have seen the last two of these at the theater together because she loves these just as much as I do. So that's always good. And like I said, she was very protective of our kids. She was worried about them seeing the first one. I put that to the side now. So, it's a family thing now. I'm making Ghostbusters a family thing now. So we've skirted around talking about what was the other ghost in this movie. The library ghost and Slimer, the first two, and we've talked about Gozer. I could have sworn there was another one, but
I don't know if there's any actual ones other than the dogs.
Terror Dogs. Well, let's bring up the Terror Dogs because my favorite sequence with those has to be the Rick Moranis.
Yes.
Uh, I will admit this. So, Mr. Rick Moranis, please forgive me for saying this, but I really hated him the first time I saw this movie. I was not a Rick Moranis fan until after I saw Spaceballs. And then I became this huge fucking Rick Moranis fan. But when in this movie, I thought he was the most annoying character ever. But over the years, he's one of my favorite characters because I have a reference point for him being in Ghostbusters 2, which is still fucking hilarious to me. And then Spaceballs, and then everything else he has done in his amazing career. And I just love Rick Moranis. Thank the gods that he's coming back to doing films because
I
I
know. I'm
I so missed
so
him.
excited. I think the first thing I saw him in was probably Honey, I Shrunk the Kids because,
Oh,
I was a Disney kid, but then seeing him in Little Shop of Horrors and I just love him and I love seeing him go from Little Shop of Horrors to meek nerdy dude who wants to have a relationship with a woman to powerhouse busy man who wants to get laid by his neighbor.
yeah. So you bring up. I almost did not bring this up, but Honey, I Shrunk the Kids defined me for a very long time because Rick Moranis that movie was one of my favorite movies of his for the longest fucking time. So much so that I saw the sequels all at the theater because he was in them, and I was like, "Oh, this is the greatest shit ever." Because I used to. That's why I said when this movie came out, I didn't like it, but when I saw Spaceballs, Honey, I Shrunk the Dude, the man changed me so much in the 80s and early 90s because I always thought that his character in this film was annoying at first. Until the Terror Dog sequence. I've always loved him as a Terror Dog because he's all doing the weird facial things with the helmet on as they're examining him and seeing the Terror Dog reflection in the screens. I can't remember the lines that Harold Ramis says, but it's just fucking hilarious. Um, because he's yeah. Are you the gatekeeper? or are you key? I forget what he says now. I can't think straight. He's
He's the key master, she's
are
the
you yeah,
gatekeeper.
are you the gatekeeper? And he just keeps going around asking everybody because you don't see Sigourney Weaver's character doing any of that. She's chilling up in her apartment waiting for him. He's
I
going around
mean, she throws herself at
Bill Murray,
Bill
Peter.
Murray just a little bit, and she's like, I'm the gatekeeper, just over and over again. She does ask a few times if he's the key master.
Yeah, yeah.
But going back to your question about other ghosts in the movie, I think was the zombie taxi driver in this one or was it in the second one?
It's in this one. After the whole building explodes, the stuff goes into the fuel pipe, the pipe in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Exhaust pipe, and then the skeleton shows up in the taxi. But that's like 2 seconds.
Yeah, and then there's the succubus while they're in the hotel.
Succubus in the hotel. Which one?
Oh yeah. There's the whole like semi-sex scene that's
Oh,
hinted at.
oh, I see. When you said that, I was like, are we thinking about the Dan Aykroyd sequence where he's having the dream about the ghost floating above him?
That's not a dream.
Oh, that's not a dream to you?
No.
I always thought that was a dream.
No.
So see, am I
They called that ghost the succubus.
Oh my god, dude! I have always thought that he is sitting in the firehouse dreaming of ghosts, and that's just like that's how I've always pictured this. You see, you are just now opening my eyes to something I had never seen. I've seen this movie 100 times. I always assumed that while that whole montage is going on, he is up there dreaming about ghosts and seeing this ghost of they. So that
Like I said, they know how to sneak those adult jokes in there.
oh my god. Well, I know she's a succubus because she disappears and opens up his pants. Of course I know, but I never thought of that as being not the dream. So that's it. I'm gonna rewatch this. When I rewatch this, I'm gonna like you'll have opened my eyes to yet another detail in the film that I've just kind of glossed over because I seen it as a kid and I glossed over it as a
Yeah,
kid.
as a kid, you're like, I don't know. I remember asking my parents were like, oh, they're I can't even remember what the hell they said, but they were like, oh yeah, no, they're just like kissing and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Oh Jesus, yeah, I always thought that was a dream. No, it'll be interesting. I'll go back and rewatch that one. Oh God,
But
that's
then yeah, all the other like crazy weird ghosts are from the second one where you get like the whole army, you get the Scolari brothers and just
yeah. I like that one because you have the Titanic that shows up.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cheech Marin say, better late than never. You know. No, the second one has a lot of cool little sequences with ghosts in it as well. Which is why I can't wait to show my sons that movie. But when I was rewatching this one, I realized there wasn't that many, and the ones that they do show up are in either the montage at the beginning or the montage when they're capturing ghosts, when their business is booming, and then at the very very end when after the firehouse is exploded and all the ghosts escape.
Well, and so there's actually a good reason why there are not that many ghosts in this one. And at the time, special effects studios were super busy everywhere. Like people were constantly fighting for who was going to get which studio. So, they actually used part of their budget to found Boss Film Studios, which employed a combination of practical effects, miniatures, and puppets to deliver all of their ghosts because they literally could not get any full company. So they had to create their own.
Interesting. I did not know that. I've actually not read about any of the behind the scenes on.
Yeah, I did a deep dive on it this time. Like the stuff I found out with Aykroyd and his family's crazy history with ghosts is a giant rabbit hole that I now need to dive through because his great grandfather was a mystic who wrote with Arthur Conan Doyle. Um, but yeah, I mean, the whole family is like paranormal experts. I knew that Aykroyd was big into UFOs and stuff like that, but his dad actually wrote a book a few years ago and he actually went and did the rounds with his dad to help promote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Dan Aykroyd's always been a great actor for me.
Love him.
For me, Harold Ramis was only in these films and Stripes, and I know he's did lots of other stuff. Don't get me wrong, I know he's did lots of other stuff, but for me, it was this and Stripes. It was pretty much
Yeah, I knew him more as the writer director than I knew him as anything else.
yeah, exactly. And then of course Bill Murray. He's still one of my favorite actors of all time. I actually I still collect his movies that he's been in, even his
Mhm.
really bad ones, because he's done some really bad ones, but he's done some of the most amazing ones as well.
Yeah, my family occasionally runs into him in Chicago. He's just one of those random guys who will just kind of wander and do whatever the hell he feels like.
I think if you're Bill Murray, you can do whatever the hell you feel like doing for most of the time.
I mean, isn't that why he was in Zombieland?
Uh, yeah. And for anyone who has been listening to our program, we have done a episode on Zombieland already, and I've already discussed my Bill Murray diatribe on that. So please make sure to check out that episode if you want to know more about me and Bill and my little thing about that movie with Bill Murray. It's gonna be it's entertaining at least. But we haven't done many horror comedies on this program, especially not to the extent of the comedy aspects in this film.
I don't know, Kevin. I feel like I do a lot of the horror comedies on here. When we do our top 10 lists, I list a lot of comedies.
No, you know what? Your top 10 list always has a lot more horror comedies than mine does. And and on this program we've been trying to get to so many of those films. So some of them we keep skipping over, are having to reschedule. And you know which films I'm talking about probably. Uh but you're right. I think that with you, a lot of the horror comedies that we have tackled have all had you on them. Um, because I guess you gravitate towards them since you know Scooby Doo on Monster Island. I think is one of your favorites. Is that the one?
Yes. I mean, growing up watching any of the like kids scary stuff that then becomes an adult obsession, like how can you not love horror comedy at that point?
Uh, I would probably say this is one of the ones that defined horror comedy for me and for the longest time because like I said, I've always considered this a horror film, but because of the cast,
Hmm.
it's always a comedy as well. It's the horror comedy genre has gotten much better in the last couple of decades.
And it has a huge range now where this used to be the horror comedy, and now we get stuff as crazy and creepy as Tucker and Dale versus like Scary Movie.
Yeah, scary movie. The horror parody, which I don't think there's really many of those out there, but there are some.
There's a handful.
There's a handful. I just thought about that. We'll have to tackle more of those on this program. I think the only one we've really tackled in terms of horror spoof comedy is probably Young Frankenstein. We'll have to tackle some more of those on the program as well. So for anyone listening, please make sure to let us know in the comment section other horror comedies that you would like to see, other than the rest of the films in this franchise, because we will get to those sooner rather than later. Just to let you know. But yes, I'm trying to think of other aspects of this film that we should definitely discuss about because I don't want to miss anything because we are not doing this episode like normal ones where we go through all the plot, blah 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 blah, because you all know the plot and all that good stuff in this film. Because if you don't, you must have been living under a rock. And I will say that again, living under a rock, because everybody, whether you're a comedy lover, a horror lover, or just an old school 80s film lover, should have seen Ghostbusters at one point or another. Unless you're just so young, you don't know what a Ghostbuster is.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know how anybody over the age of 10 has not seen or know of this movie.
Well, yeah, and horror fans definitely, because you know Ghostbusters has a huge influence on the characters in Stranger Things. Jesus, just a whole
Yes.
season. where it's a huge influence, and a huge influence to the Duffer Brothers, among other filmmakers. So Ghostbusters is one of those things that just won't ever die for some reason or other.
Well, and I mean they put together their own little company so that called Ghost Corps just so that they could make stuff because they talked about it for years before Harold Ramis died and then he passed and they were like, no, now we need to actually do something. And I like that they are carrying on the torch and passing it down to the next generation. And I feel like those newer movies are doing a good job of that, of passing that torch. And they're all there to kind of hand it off, and they've been really well done.
That's a good point to put in there. The, these first two films are their own separate thing. We already know that the two newest films, Afterlife and Frozen Empire, both
Mhm.
have their own style to them. But yet, especially with Afterlife, that one pays homage to all the original characters in this first film, and they do a beautiful job with it. They do a great job with it, in my opinion. And it was a great way to extend the legacy of that original film.
Yes.
And by going back to New York in Frozen Empire, they brought the main thing from the first two movies is New York as a character. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yes.
It's one of the few things that I liked in Answer the Call. I don't always agree with some of the choices they make with Answer the Call, but I did like the design of the ghost, the Technicolor ghost that they did. I did not mind. I just think that movie skewed too much towards comedy and not
Yes.
enough to the horror aspects, and it loses that magic that these first two movies have. Whereas the later movies didn't, they already knew they couldn't do that. They didn't try. They wanted to make it more a dramatic family Ghostbusters movie as opposed to trying to make it a comedy horror film. And I think they did a great job with that. Um, we didn't, for a lot of people, it's a shame we didn't get a sequel to Answer the Call. But
Mhm.
I will say, if you are a huge fan of Answer the Call, make sure to go check out the comic book series because there's plenty of sequelized stories with the characters in that universe of comic books. So it's always good to to see and know that that the life of these films and the different generations that these films were geared towards have been extended for multiple different media. So even though we only had these two movies, the first one and the second one, we had a television cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters, but then we had a plethora of comic books that also feature that. And that just means the testament of how much the franchise, these characters, the legacy has extended generations upon generations upon generations.
Well, even speaking of that, like even the writer and director for these most two recent ones is the son of the original director.
Yep.
So even in the family, you can see how much it means to them to keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm here for it as long as they're doing it correctly and lovingly the way that they should. I know that they have talked about doing a third one of this recent series. So I guess we'll see what we get in the future.
You know what? You're right, and I hope that they do a third one. I really did like the last two. And it's a shame that audiences didn't gravitate towards the most recent one as much. I heard a lot of complaints because it wasn't a comedy; it's more of a dramatic horror film, a drama. But I actually like that aspect of these
Mhm.
last two films because they weren't trying to be. They didn't have Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, the anchor of the whole movie on. This is a much younger generation, and Paul Rudd can float between drama, action, and comedy pretty seamlessly, and I think he does a really good job with
And
those.
Carrie Coon can too. Like I absolutely love her in this.
Yeah, they gave her a lot to do in the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her in the second one. I love Frozen Empire, dude. I really do love Frozen Empire. I was you know, people just didn't gravitate towards that one, but I would love to see those characters again.
Mhm.
There's so much they can do with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Panazzo, is there anything else you would like to talk about in regards to Ghostbusters?
I could talk about Ghostbusters all day, Kevin. I know that we could talk so much more about this and break down each little scene if we really wanted to. You could do a riff tracks with this, and it would still be you saying the exact same lines because it's just so perfect.
Oh my, yeah, I don't know how entertaining a riff track would be for this movie. You have
Like
to,
I said, you would just say the exact same lines because it's so iconic. But no, I love this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, shame on you. You need to watch it. How dare you be listening to this podcast without watching this movie? And you know what? If you haven't seen the two recent ones, give them a chance. I know that the all-female version of Ghostbusters didn't do well. It wasn't one of my favorites, but these two are refreshing and modern takes on it, and I really enjoyed them. Kevin, you really enjoyed them as well. So anybody who hasn't given them a shot, please try.
yeah,
It's definitely worth it.
yeah. Well, I'll say, I'm a little biased because I've read the fucking novelizations and had the soundtracks with, the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack was on my playlist like a billion times. Same with the original one. I'm sorry. I was all in the Ghostbusters growing up, dude. And the comic books and the cartoons. I watched them all except for that Extreme Ghostbusters stuff that I just found out existed a few years back. I ain't seen that yet. I'm a little afraid of that. But uh, with that, I do want to thank you, Panazzo, for joining us on this conversation in which we discussed Ghostbusters from 1984. For everyone listening, what we love to do is we love to rate the movies between 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing, but we like to pull something from the movie, an object, quote, or saying, in order to attribute to our rating. What is your rating, Panazzo, and what do you want to attribute to it, whether it be a quote, a saying, or an object?
Kevin, I'm going to give it an Ecto 5 out of 5 because I absolutely love this movie.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I'm gonna do something I wasn't thinking I was gonna do because you just enlightened me. I'm gonna give this 5 female succubuses out of 5 because now I have something new to watch. Like I didn't think I could watch this movie and learn anything more because I've seen it so many times, but now you boom opened my mind.
Every time I watch this, I love finding out more about it.
Yes, so with that, I hope that you all have enjoyed this conversation about Ghostbusters. Please make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast and your favorite podcast app, Spotify or YouTube, especially since we will be tackling the additional films in this franchise, and you will not want to miss our conversations on those. Also, please make sure to check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, in which we delve into the amazing oeuvre of films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s of Hammer Studios. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we wish you a pleasant day, and please stay away from those library ghosts, because those are the scariest things out there. Have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.